Secretary of State Marco Rubio, a series of words I never thought in a million years I would say. Secretary of State Marco Rubio thinks you're stupid. This is what Secretary of State Marco Rubio said yesterday.
What President Trump said yesterday is an acknowledgement of the following. Gaza has been severely damaged. If you look at the aerial imagery, you see what's happening. The billions of dollars that are going to be required for reconstruction are enormous. Some areas have been rendered unlivable now and for the foreseeable future. And so what President Trump announced yesterday is the offer, the willingness of the United States to become responsible for the reconstruction of that area. And while you are rebuilding, while you're clearing debris, by the way, there are unexploded munitions. There are all kinds of Hamas weaponry still buried underground. For people to be able to live in a place safely, all of that has to be removed. It's an enormous undertaking. And the only thing President Trump has done very generously, in my view, is offer the United States willingness to step in, clear the debris, clean the place up from all the destruction that's on the ground, clean it up of all these unexploded munitions. And in the meantime, the people living there will not be able, the people who call that home will not be able to live there while you have crews coming in and removing debris, while you have munitions being removed, etc. That's the offer that he's made. It's actually, he made a similar, obviously we didn't have a conflict at the time, but when he, in his first term, he offered a $50 billion plan to help Palestinians, which was rejected by the PA and obviously others. So in the interim, obviously people are going to have to live somewhere while you're rebuilding it. It is akin to a natural disaster. So what he's very generously has offered is the ability of the United States to go in and help with debris removal, help with munitions removal, help with reconstruction, the rebuilding homes and businesses and things of this nature, so that then people can move back in. But in the meantime, they'll have to live somewhere.
So did you hear that? It's while we're rebuilding, they're going to have to live somewhere else. They're going to be, they can't live there while we're doing the reconstruction. And once the reconstruction is over, they can move back in. But that's not what Trump said. That is not what Trump said.
Yeah, I would like to see Jordan. I'd like to see Egypt take some look. The Gaza thing has not worked. It's never worked. And I feel very differently about Gaza than a lot of people. I think they should get a good, fresh, beautiful piece of land, and we get some people to put up the money to build it and make it nice and make it habitable and enjoyable and make it a home.
They don't want to leave, though. Palestinians say they don't want to leave.
I don't know how they could want to stay. It's a demolition site. It's a pure demolition site. If we could find the right piece of land or numerous pieces of land and build them some really nice places, there's plenty of money in the area, that's for sure. I think that would be a lot better than going back to Gaza, which has had just decades and decades of death.
He just said it right there. If we could find them a piece of land or numerous pieces of beautiful land and build them a nice, habitable place, it would be better for them than going back to Gaza. I don't know why anybody would want to go back to Gaza. Trump is not talking about the United States putting up the effort to clear out the unexploded munitions, demolish the old buildings, and redevelop the Gaza Strip so that the Palestinians can move back in, as Marco Rubio would have you believe. So we are now in the stage of the second Trump administration where his cabinet officials have to lie to you about what it is he said. Because what it is he said, A, isn't going to happen, B, will never work, and C, is so fucking outrageous they can't defend it. So now Marco Rubio's got to step up and go, well, no, what he said was, we'll move them somewhere else while we rebuild Gaza, and then we'll move them back. So you guys are now going to be under the impression that Donald Trump is going to put forth the time, the effort, and the money. The United States of America, under Donald Trump's leadership, is going to put up the time, the effort, and the money to clear out all the old buildings, clear out all the old munitions, get rid of all of the garbage and shit that's there, rebuild the entire Gaza Strip, and then turn around and just hand it back to the Palestinians. No, not going to happen. He wants them cleared out because they want that land for development. As a matter of fact, he wants it to be a development for the entire world. He says it so right here. The Gaza Strip would be turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. The Palestinians, people like Chuck Schumer, would have already been resettled in far safer and more beautiful communities with new modern homes in the region. They would actually have a chance to be happy, safe, and free. The U.S., working with government or with great development teams from all over the world, would slowly and carefully begin the reconstruction of what would become one of the greatest and most spectacular developments of its kind on Earth. No soldiers by the U.S. would be needed. Stability for the region would reign. He's talking about resettling them to another part of the world so that they can develop the Gaza Strip. A few things about this comment here, about this post. Why is Chuck Schumer mentioned? Chuck Schumer's an American Jew. Why are we talking about him in a resettlement conversation of Palestinians? Secondly, he's not talking about the Palestinians returning. He's talking about it being an investment site for everybody else on the planet but the Palestinians. And lastly, no soldiers by the U.S. would be needed? Really? Go in there and take over the Gaza Strip, Donald Trump, and tell me how many soldiers aren't going to be needed. You think the rest of the Arab world is just going to let you do that? Or are you going to put 100% of the onus on the fighting, for the fighting on Israel and not actually put U.S. soldiers? If you try to go in and take the Gaza Strip from the Palestinians, you're going to need some fucking soldiers, champ.